saying the prayers on page number 10. If you are viewing from Facebook or uh, Zoom, you can find the recitation book online. On page number 10, we'll say in Tibetans 2 times each verse, all the way to page number 12. And on page number 13, Mandala offering we'll say in Tibetan 1 time. And then after we'll say in English from page number 11. But now look on page number 10.
上界上的没得不忘意，这个难道上了就不说，一的那个人，那人的呀的呀没。
In English, on page number 11, I take refuge in the Guru, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. From now until my enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and causes.
May
All sentient beings be free from suffering and causes. May all sentient beings never be separated from the Lord bless. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. They surround unauntable perfume, strewn with flowers, Mount Meru, encircled by the four continents, surmounted by the sun and the moon. I visualize this Buddha field and offer. May all living beings enjoy the pureness. On page number 14, 114.
三宝的一张我一正当西人保佑前不一当别用所所特我老这把娘不是不是耶路让你是做龙王之人的马儿人着我跟样的着念着我着为个今儿为上求三少结我身结路三藏结长子中南僧啦公巴梅那上这么着不是拉不是东尼家西东巴拉宗巴张贝罗不是心结罗罗贝耶拉央王是西上大东拉此人修八一是你郎中中的赵为了女儿的年老结我是耶路特摩兰加诺的今儿王那他把根基手劲儿多着他上界为人我当把的的老年的就不是耶路的是爱着那你这辈子南道当子东不送了马门别爱往年今儿你所当的送我是耶路你也的用无人你那么只是多你所把一但是那就里没有味儿别送人这不是耶路得得郎上多别是年当此人这别着能下等上是当南给我的就别送也我是耶郎的所我跟的样到那么当这没去花 lo long zhou zhang sa dang lam jie yong de ra zo ne Lord Jie Chang Yi Gong Pang Yu Du Xiong. 야, 그거 정말로 참 delicious.
Good morning to you all. Thank you for coming.
땅아주 언니 많이 던지는 곰자가 인생은 정말 근데 잔디스 곰진 정말 많이 던지.
So we all have, we all can see the images of Buddha of compassion, Jianlizi. So we are going to take this sacred image as our focal point, and then bring it into our meditation of mantra recitation.
금동 우상 제제 원라진 거제 잔제 로나즈 잔제즈나 상상로 오마느 밤에 오마느 밤에 마느 밤에 마느 밤에 마느 밤에 마느 밤에 마느 밤에 的老真的总的觉呢，罗西江嘛里哇的上那个不是说，呀，大看这个出的呢嘛，么真就是跟着，就是当的这种的，我们不是嘛嘛有问题的。
Thank you.
点着为刚说，咁七级当没巴拉没比，室内这边吃，室内的操当当比，俺呢没当没巴拉，sem得起，这下当然真，世上嘛多把的啦，生活几把的就比，生活几年不占把当，西西能讲呢，生活差么，也是呢，得得给俺的们周围吃的，因为sem呢。sem kibi rimbanas tela tetang tela sem joko yintun joko lenten joko nyewaran joko dawar sheto shivar shello nambar shivar shet zechik tashil dongyong tashil tetang top triki dibjang yela shepa ji yopi tsatela sem tangbo tibi top niwa sambi top tene nite jambi top tetang tene nina shijin ki top tene nina sonji ki top tang sem go diwi top ki dripo yela shepa je yote sem tangbo ni la dripten ji pi yela shil tene ngala chapar ji pi yela shil tene sem yepa la kapcha chepa me par ji pi yishil gwan thinji dripper GP Shishil, Tela Kombali, Demashe Patong, Shiso, Teni, Mupa Tenila, Sinjimbi, Gozuki, Solwa, Lani, Komba Litan Sem Hint Jangwa, Topsi, Shinidpa Yinte, Teniti Litan Sem, Shint Jangwa, Chi Tobni, Yela Shepa, Ji Shatang, Shiso, Terter Shani Dubni, Dami Piton, Harter Sheti, Nicha. 소소 도비 헤르 차마님비 치키 곰발리 하르키 신정 점문비 쇼금이 길리 라지 라 신정 서트 렌트 비치 랑통드 비츠데 데스니 당 랑통드 슬든 남 종지게 키와션드 비 스니 당 랑통 판치시키 시기 장위 치키 담버 샤버 따로 데르트나 동일람이 상동 검송 게로스 어떠버트는 단단하게 같은 돈 치르다.
So what we're going to read is a way of essential and absolutely crucial. So let's read. Please go to your translation copy 133, 133. Techniques for actualizing and commonly abiding mind that apprehends the selflessness of a person or phenomena. It is essential to have assembled the factors for a calm, abiding mind so that when selflessness is the object on which the mind is focused, the meditative absorption that is to be actualized is clear and non-conceptual. When it is hindered by laxity and excitement, employ mindfulness as an antidote, recognizing even their subtle aspects by means of introspection. Persist in your meditation in such a way that you do not come under their influence. The order of the 9 stages of setting the mind is as follows. Set in the mind on the object, continual setting, patch-like setting, close setting, controlling, pacifying, total pacification, making single-pointed, and stage of equilibrium. The technique for actualizing this through the 6 forces and the 4 activities is as follows. On the first stage, employ the force of listening to the instructions, and on the second, the force of thinking about them. On the next two employ the forces of mindfulness to keep the mind on the object. On the 2 stages after that, the force of introspection counter subtle laxity and subtle excitement. On the 2 following stages, employ rigor, and on the 9th stage, apply the force of total familiarity. The way of 4 mental activities are engaged is as follows. On the first 2 stages is the mental activity of deliberate engagement. During the following 5 stages, there is mental activity of interrupted engagement, and on the 9th stages, that is uninterrupted engagement. On the 9th stage is the mental activity of spontaneous engagement. Due to the familiarity with which there is no need for further assertion. Then, having gently relaxed your effort with then having gently relaxed, that's right, relaxed your effort with regard to laxity and excitement in relation to the actual objects. When familiarity with the practice yields extreme physical and mental pliancy, commonly abiding mind has been attained. Material's discrimination between the middle way and the extreme says, then such a body and mind, having gained great pliancy, must be engaged and put to use. Having actualized the calm abiding mind in this way, examine the significance of selflessness as before. Then, having gained familiarity with the technique for balancing calmly abiding mind and discriminating awareness, when you are able to derive fresh pliancy from the impact of analytical meditation itself, not merely the previous pliancy, that is the gauge of having actualizing special insight. A common abiding mind and special insight should be interrelated or possess common features, such as common objects relying on the same sensory base, arising simultaneously having the same aspects and the common entity. The sage Shantiba has said, if you possess the methods as explained for maturely abiding calm, abiding mind, and special insight, one to the other, that will give rise to the meditation on special insight, apprehended emptiness.
단디 단다드 사자 드데스가 또 남기 소소런 그 냠린 지알라 데스 판토신 볼상고 되는 게 데스 이거 시기담을 등이 추덕건들 로치네 대랑 수준 데시지 아니 전소송 요거 듣다 다네 지마 양질 디가라 마 맞더니 벨로 고지 잡니 양질 사시지 샤시요세.
As I said, today's topic and practically is of great the nature of today's discussion is absolutely crucial. It offers very important practical techniques. So therefore, even though I myself personally not the great experts, but I will try and to make the points clear. And in fact, I also think that I will try to explain them as much as possible today, and then you after the class, and I wish but I will after you go home, then you please continue reviewing and read and study this very topic. Then in the next time, and I will try to again and make more time to continue work on this very topic and to make sure we all understand how to use this technique well.
다 당부들라네 곰자네 무일 때라다 시당 강서 이위니 시당 강서서 네 당봉아 세트 제트네 니 세트 시고다 당봉아 세트 당봉아 시달라 신기천 dak한데 증일라 차기르와 세트가도 용산로 등리 용사가 싸완로도 드니 용고래 세다 당봉아 덴버 드빙아 지 페플라 요아지 삼로당 때 담보 쇼지 때 까침보 싸침보 쇼지 지용소 따 텔라테네 아니 니와팅 니즈니 치탐질라 파 양로 지용으로서 양로 지용으로서 띠는 파쇼 치 담치기 땅네 아니 내가 가위 쇼인즈니 텔라 도착 지용으로 내가 마가위 쇼인즈 텔라 당와 지용으로 때자 아니 초라 동용 땅 데디 텔라테네 처동일라 테네 아니 대와 등을 초라 동용즈니 아니 디 초라 정정 그렇지 초라 텔라 테네 테네 데 레사는 그렇지 링거 있음 거 샤와트 지용으로 텔라 테네 네 레사는 거 레사원서 텔라 테네 저양 데디 초라 때문 어떤 직등 코라가 네 땅즈는 등이 용땅으로 던지 시기 오르시다.
Let's make a bit of layer out some kind of a very basic background or foundations for ourselves, for us, and in order to make a great deep understanding about the technical aspects of the meditation. First of all, we all know that we are here trying to practice meditation. Right? Meditation is our objectives. Well, so having this objective in our mind, we have to know that in any case, we basically are dealing two things. Right? One is the phenomena, another is observers of the phenomena. In other words, here we are dealing the two sort of involved with the two aspect of the reality, and we call the dharma, we call phenomena, or we call the all that existed. Right? And the second is about the aging, about the observer, and about the anything that concerns the individual, and that we normally say I or person. So I and then not I, I and anything other than I, or everything and everything but the I. So this are the thing, I and the phenomena are the two sets of reality we are constantly dealing with. Okay, so here as individual agent, individual or agent or the observer, and we have a goal for ourselves, right? And we have some kind of objectives and we constantly and try to achieve. And just like in the Madhyamika Avatara and Shankarakirti, in the point in the very beginning of his writing says that the facts of right, the facts of the reality of the ordinary sentient being is, or the status of status quo, if you like, and the state of normal ordinary beings life is that first of all, and they attach to or cling on to the I, and then they develop the further attachments to the things belong to them, or they are whatever they think is they're possessing. So, and this is what the Chandrakirti as he pointed in his writing is our reality. Okay? And indeed, we always observing, experiencing, and noticing, and then that I, right, and feel that this I, the existence of I, and then from there we always try to maintain or try to do something about the things that are related to us or believe it belong to us or we are entitled to. So, and as we talked about, so then since we are the agents, right, we are the observer, and anything else others is the phenomena, is dharma, or is anything that's we call reality or existence. So then we try to expand it, or this natural sort of dharma or phenomena, the phenomenological reality is sort of stretched out and then extended, right, by itself. Because here we are, and we consider this I is here, and then anything other than the I is out there, right? And then this relationship, once we formed this relationship or relationship being set up, then we are naturally will experiencing the sort of qualities of this relation. So when we think about the qualities of a relation, and as an ordinary sentient being, and our feelings can tell what the nature of this quality is, or in which level are we in which aspect this relations are, and is being formed or is taking place. And obviously, when we talk about feelings, right? That's our feelings, and we're as ordinary sentient being. We only have the three. We are sort of in turn, right? Take a turn. We need the three feelings, and pleasurable feelings, and unpleasant pleasurable feelings, and the neutrals. So we are constantly sort of rotating or take a turn around these three feelings. And then once the feelings are pleasant is being developed, or as soon as we experience something that is pleasurable, and we'll naturally have this natural inclination or intent to hold on to it, grasping and to that very objects. And then if the objects that we're encountering, we have any interaction with, they give us a sense of defeating, frustrating, or disappointment. Then we experiencing the anger or the aversion, right? And otherwise, is sort of being a neutral, being a neutral. So in any case, now when you feel painful, you will immediately try to do something to reject or to free from that unpleasurable feeling, and then that brings yourself. You naturally put yourself into the mode of karma or accumulation of karma by the speech, bodily action, and mental activities. So similarly, we experience something pleasurable and which is very desirable, and you also will respond to this pleasurable feeling accordingly. Meaning, and you will put yourself into the mode of accumulation of the karma by through the bodily action, verbal action, and the mental actions. Then this, of course, is created once you created the karma, and then naturally you have to deal with the consequences of karma. Why? Because there is a cause and then there is the effect. So that's how the karma works. And so therefore, in a words, that this is our reality. That's who we are, and that's why we find ourselves in such a difficult situations.
tenchada khuri tsawa chopur shepala dagme pi ton tongore dagme tobe ton tobur shepala inchi miche dagme tobe sherb gongore tamato ne pena sham ta tsikdam ngor tamato sham ta hangjila sopa gomba ina ti choksak ga dibjung top ga niwata phengor ta ne ko ganda ro ta me chate tashi dagme dangjin pong to ko mare tencha dagme tobe sherb gong konya lo national shinora pena ne make tot bari also ranging tangrata ma mewa chando cha inchimi tamo mewa chapal sepala ane ji make tot member go yor member also ti tobla ten tot yel roga najin ane dame to be sherb tang danjini te gadar chit ki also chit mewa chando ten cha inchimi dame to be sherb go dame to be sherb ko ne danjing ge sawa chu mathawaina 코로아레 나면 탈탈 그 말에 코로아 도시기 싸워대 마릭파테 아니 마릭피 다던 좀 당전 세다 마릭파레다 그래서 어때 사다네 마릭피 간거 아주 열린지 폼보도 양지 접거다 폼 될라테니 다 데데 그 소라마 용거자 어때 사 당메 공고레 다 드시고 당메 공부 셔발라 다 당부 신이 당 한통네 신이 공부도 신이 공부도 뭐 신이 공부 셔발라 당부 알 신이 총로 그런 가르 하고 그러잖아. 검지 다음에 셈나가 약고 쉬고 그러지.
So technically, and based on the conversation we just had, we know that we are here dealing with the situation in Buddhism called samsara. So our situation, right? Our condition is a samsaric, or is samsara by its nature, meaning that repeated pattern of all the stressful and undesirable and unsatisfactory reality, right? So that's what we call samsara. And so we see this as samsara, and then we see this as something that is after all, by its nature, and it's awful. So therefore, and we, as conscious being, and we naturally want to do something about it, right? And then, so in order to free ourselves from samsara, this awful and negative living conditions, and so our research or study of the Buddhism and informed us that in order to free ourselves from today's awful reality, samsara, and then we have to cut off the very root cause of all this samsaric, unpleasant, unsatisfactory living reality. So that is the root cause of all the painful and stressful and the difficult situation. So therefore, our the goal, our task naturally is to cut off or to root out the root cause of all samsara. What is the root cause of samsara, right? And the root cause of samsara is the ignorance. The ignorance is have no idea or misinformed ideas about the the identity of the individuality and identity of the all phenomena, right? Of course, Buddhism offers in terms of how to free ourselves from samsara, not other than offer the wisdom that enlighten us and help us to cut off the root cause of samsara. Ignorance. It also teaches offers other very important teachings such as the great compassion and the kindness and so on and so forth. However, in this particular case, if we wanted to free ourselves ultimately from the samsaric, unpleasant samsaric living condition, and although meditate on compassion, kindness, love, it helps, but it cannot help us to achieve our ultimate goal, that is completely, perfectly, clearly cut off the root cause of ignorance, the samsara, that's ignorance. It means perception of self of person, it means misperception of self of phenomena. That would not help. Why? Because the qualities or the effectiveness of loving kindness, compassion, does not serve as direct antidote to eliminate the ignorance itself. What is the direct, effective technique or antidote that can help us to cut off the ignorance, the root cause of samsara? That is the wisdom that clearly understands the true nature, ultimate nature of self of person. Why? Because here you got the ignorance, which is the something which is very hard to us, right? From which we feel painful or we feel very stressful. Right? And that is the source of our problem, the ignorance, the misperception of self of person, right? Misperception of self of phenomena. So then we need to take the wisdom that see the ultimate nature of self as it is. Right? Because this wisdom, which serves as a direct antidote, which can counteracting the source of the stress and source of the pain that we experience. So therefore, they are mutually exclusive. Right? The wisdom that understands the true nature of self and the ignorance or the misperception of self are absolutely mutually exclusive. So therefore, we need to apply a technique that is opposite to the sources from which we are suffering. Okay. So make it simple and more clear. For example, the cold and the warm are opposite the natural forces that we experience, right? So when we feel the cold, right, let's go do something about it and bring ourselves to the environment, the place where the opposite of this coldness or this the atmosphere or the air, whatever it gives us that makes us feel cold, we have to go the opposite the place or the area where the opposite, the air or the environment itself is warm. So similarly, right? the ignorance of the self, misperception of the self, and that serves but nothing but the causes for all the painful experiences. So therefore, we have to apply the wisdom that clearly see the true nature of individuality and the true nature of the self of phenomena. So that's how it works, right? In other words, the samsara, right, is the causes of trouble, and we have to do, and we want to free from it. So the way to do that is we need to apply employ the technique or the forces which can help us to remove all the sources from which we experiencing this stress and all kinds of sufferings. Okay, so then the technique, of course, broadly speaking, is meditation, right? But within the meditation, right, we know that meditation ultimately the meditation is the meditation of selflessness of person. Right? But in order to successfully practice meditation of selflessness of person, to address the very cause of samsara, the ignorance, then we have to develop a foundational, a solid foundation, some kind of foundational, the foundational and practice, and then from which then we can move on to practice the actual meditation of selflessness of person. So therefore, it is essential, it's crucial for us to working on before we practice the meditation of selflessness of person, we have to practice develop a meditation prior to this advanced the meditation. That is a common abiding, or shini in Tibetan, or shamatha sometimes in Sanskrit. So let's say common abiding. So common abiding has to be developed, and in order to practice successfully the meditation of selflessness person, we have to first develop the shamatha or shini. So in order to practice shini, and then we have to know the techniques of shini, right? And then once we develop the shini, then there is hope we can develop vipassana or Halkung in Tibetan, and English translation is special insight. So therefore, we need to work on and understand how this shini and special insight correlate to each other or relate to each other. And but after all, the first thing is that we have to learn how to develop a calm abiding meditation.
다 신이 공부시발라 아니 때라 혼두도에 semnigo 세든도 신이 걸라테니 애니 가르조 가르고나 shongwa gopa nyuti gakparchi yungwa shini dibala ane sem sisi tangbo yit hakwa tela sisi nyambar zhong tela ane sem nema tuwa shilwa thudwa chigo tela gopa sikor ane shongwa se tela sem ne yungso sem kali sem tela ne yungso rubi tela tsini timni maswa da changwa mpa maswa changwa tela shongwa sikor shongwa gopa nyu ti part chogo tela so na shijin 잠바던 시즌이 공부 잠바던 시즌은 잠바세도 조 언니 소소 하고 있던데 다 sem나네 맞지와 진짜리 샤르크 좀 거지 시즌세야 돼 샘 따라는 고문들 때라 답토지니 그런 진에 샘들 남성실과 연구나 남성 티가 살아야 이제 용주고 잠바 시즌이 때라 때네 신이 톱송은 다 샘니가 때네 톱송으로 또 태봉으로 또 신이 소소 연락기오나 때라네 신정게 대화전 리신정게 대화던 샘신정게 대화 토고서 리신정 대화 토고서 리 텔레페 같이 마 냠버자서만 지 찬낭으로 소낭으로 가면와 배 양모 전에 내도 롱글린으로 너무 창로 없어서 근데 때니 봐때 또 치르치르로 정위 덤로 신장즈는 그 생활당 정화의 소수 등 맞수지위 돕기 딱그 돈비 니와저와 된자 샘지 정도는 리 샘라쇼 대화 차버전스 기온 온고서 된자 리슴신정 대화 토고를 스타 리슴신정 대화 토버 셔발라 당보 샘니 그 동원도 로고 신이 토발라 샘니 그 동원 또 샘니 그 뜻이 바꿔원을 됐는데 시작하고
So, yes, so now at this point, we are clear that we have a clearly understand our conditions, and then we also understand why from why that we have to experiencing what we don't want to experience, and then further we know that it is crucial for us to engage in the meditation, and then with among meditation and the Shini meditation is the foundation of all, okay, and all the meditations. And then how to practice Shini meditation or Kama Abhidya meditation. And then so there are, there is a set of 9 stages, right? 9 stages of mind setting, or 9 stages of Kama Abhidya. So we have to understand those 9 stages one by one. Before we discuss about whether those 9 stages are, it is important we always have to keep in our mind is that meditation by its unique feature, we know it is something about as a unique feature of the meditation, being a single pointedly, your mind mentally you have to be single pointedly. Single pointedness is the unique feature of the meditation, and to reach this single pointedness of the mental Kama abiding, then we have to deal with. But there are 2 hinders or obstacles, and we have to deal with it. Right? One is called laxity, other is called excitement. Laxity, excitement are the 2 very serious troublemakers, and therefore one to successfully achieve the single pointedness of meditation. So let's check out how the excitement and laxity are doing all the very harmful elements or play the terrible rules of obstacle and create obstacles for the meditator. So here, first of all, we know that when you try to calm and calmly abiding, right, being focused, one of the problems immediately you have to deal with is excitement, meaning that distracted, right? Being distracted and your mind is kind of scattered, or not a state that being focused like as you intended, right? As you intended, but rather goes to other places or clinging onto something else, not the object of meditation. So your mind is constantly reach out, right, and go and do engage in anything externally, but not focus on the internal, the object of meditation. That is the excitement. That's the first trouble. You have to recognize, right? And then secondly, even though you are not, right, let's say through the assertion and through practice, now you can feel calm, you can feel you are able to something like this. You're really focused, right? And drawing all the attentions inwardly very successfully. But then slowly you will lose the clarity. Although you have developed the stability, but the clarity now is getting weaker and weaker. Then eventually to the point you lost the object of the meditation. So therefore, these two are the big troubles and the big obstacles that all the meditator has to deal with it. So then the question is, now we identify the troublemaker, right, and the obstacles, how we overcome this trouble. So the direct antidotes, a technique which can help us to overcome the laxity and excitement is mindfulness and mental introspection. Mindfulness in this particular context is that you remember consciously bear that object of your meditation in your mind and not forgotten it. Okay? Not forgotten what you were intended to be focused on, right? And the close being recollective or being attentive and being mindful and about what you're supposed to be focused on, the object, right? Clearly being recollectively and knowing that objective of meditation is the mindfulness. Then the mental introspection. Mental introspection, the other from the idea, let's say you remember, okay, you know, and you clearly noting and being very recollective about the object of your meditation, right? Very well. But then at the same time, you have to have some sense of watch over or being watchful, being to what you are working on, what you are being recollective, what you attentive, being attentive, or in other words, is a checking, sort of something else is checking on you, and you have the side of your mind is checking on to whether you are continually working on, stay on to that object of meditation or not. So that the checking, right, aspect of the mind, something is watching over on you, your task, and that is mental introspection. So, okay, now let's go into another aspect of Shinrin meditation before we deal with each of the 9 stages. First of all, Shinrin is off Kushu because that's the foundation of all the meditation, and particularly is necessary in order to develop the wisdom that understands the emptiness. So here's the thing. The good thing and the positive thing is that when you practice Shinrin, right, a successful each stage, right? Successfully each stage, the successful practitioner would get immediate benefits, right? The immediate benefits and the positive qualities or results that one can experience is called pliancy. Okay? There are 2 kinds of pliancy, one called the mental, physical pliancy, one called the mental pliancy. Right? This physical aspect of pliancy is that pliancy, by its definition, is the result of your common abiding, right? Mental common abiding. What a pliancy is that at a physical body level, your meditation and will brought you and to the point, right? Eventually, make you feel, you feel that your body is getting lighter and lighter. Even eventually, you feel that your body is become as light, right, and as sort of transparent as like air. So you would get the sense of airy. Your body is very airy, right? And or as light as like air. So that's experience of light, transparent, and very airy is the physical pliancy. And at the same time, because more you focus the develop the meditation, in other words, more your meditation become powerful, right? And become more successful, and then mentally you're going to experience the mental pliancy. That is a form of mental bliss, and so it's also called the special mental pliancy. And so this is the two positive outcomes or the immediate benefits that one can gain, and if we engage in the Shini or the common abiding meditation successfully.
진짜 다 당보 안에 샘 당보 샘 조바 제데 저 TV dobla 된 정도로서 TV dobla 저 티와 지도 보고 땅아도 티와 간다지 삼동네 당보 샘 조비 다음에 그 dobla 공간에 다음에 땅아도 저 단다가도 다음에 시거다 다음에 공물 검탄 간다지 TV 도 간다지 공가지 저와 레나 당보 전화네 아주 일 투부 쿠이다 일 쿠이다서 말음나가 단직든 나와 초라 나도 마부 영도 강아도 영화 된 거라도 니 마스 받을 덴바레다 다니 세용을 줬대 람송더니 촌도고 때나 페나 야슴시 원시 연스 그다나 니 쿠이다는 강성디다 말음 득자 쇼 땅네 콘직적 쇼기고나 람송데 니 좀 콘직적 요는 그 시고라 선나나 감적 용거 니 정도 람송더니 아니 말음 난 직적 요 말다 말음 그 직든 참 매와 찬도로 어텔라 테니티 말음 난 것도 데버메 바 하고 말음 난 데버 요 말다 이나 텔라 좀 서로도 용구요 또 모인 상하로 용구요 나전 직든디 사적 탐질 직발에서 내가 아주 서로 내도 망보 용구요 또 말이 비닐 듣고 그 용거 아주 닐 잡을 치 마시 용 같은 용구요래서 대표나 제 마친데 건드지나 마친디는 거다 지사 깔리 잡연 타마테 소소 그 세그 채널을 뜻까지는 또 냐면서 직든도 카트서 직든 카트서는 알았다 나지 지금 직든도 용 저건 지기 디송다 말음더니 다니서드 남데 말음도 지기 독송다 어때 인사 때라테네 다 대치르다 단당아 아지 쇼 담보지한테 가는데 지사나 나세 자네 니면 투안로 들지고 다 때니 용화 잠지 텐지고 다 말음는 거 좋아하는 든지 요요 되는 들지니 시험부터 든지 그 TV도 그 삼로용지용 당 삼로용지용 TV도 제 안에 진든 족 센족한테 샘 TV도 삼로용지 될 족 터바이나 때 여러분들 그 말때 있잖아 르비 진이 어떤 샘나가 니와데네 진든 족 바세데 용고 진든 족 바세데 진든 족 바데 톱적 진이 톱적인 TV도 삼비도 안에 잠비도 신정부터 존지기도 지는데 또 텔라 테네 아니 단다 신이 그 접고 된다 당보 텔라 TV도 세 당보 샘 족사도 소소 샘 지지 냠을 족사 당보 하고 유도 같이 벌스 하고서나 다들 같이 삼로 당트면 여러 무슨 맡으면 당보 샘니 당보 텔 때때 semna sharji don도 양전 sharji 정도 니와들을 비다 아니 삼비톱 세트 하고 유돈도 semna 당보 하고 양전 삼로동 삼로동네 삼동용서 아니 제스로 그렇지라 또 송다다 뒤쪽으로
Okay. All right. So 9 stages of karma abiding, and as you can see from your translation, right? The order is that setting the mind, that's the first, right? And then it's setting the mind on the object, right? And then continue setting, and then passion-like setting, then close setting, and and controlling, pacifying, and total pacification, and making single pointed, and then the stage of equilibrium. So those are the stages, 9 stages that we have to go in through to need to be mastered. So now, these 9 stages are can be successfully, right, performed. It is because there are sets of the techniques which can sort of support. There are 2 sets of techniques which support support us to carry out this 9 stages and accordingly, right? So the 2 sets of assist and auxiliary or the supportive sets of techniques are called the 6 forces and the 4 activities, right? Okay, so here's the thing. When we try to, let's say before each of the stages we went through, and what do we want to ultimately and to practice, what kind of meditation we want to practice ultimately, that is, it is clear that ultimately, and the form of meditation we want to practice is the meditation that the meditation of emptiness, or meditation of selflessness of person, and the meditation of selflessness of phenomena. So in other words, we have to meditate on the ultimate reality, the shunyata, right? The selflessness of the person and the phenomena. So that's our ultimate goal, right? But then again, like we said, in order to achieve this goal, then we have to go back to work on it, to build up a foundation, a solid foundation. In this case, the foundation is the meditation, and within the framework of meditation, and we are going to deal with the form of meditation called the 9 stages of common abiding, right? And so the 9 stages of common abiding, and is been can be developed and by applying the 6 forces and the 4 activities. For example, first, right, at the first stage, like the first 9 stages of setting the mind, which is setting the mind on the object, right? Setting the mind on the object, that is the first stage of 9 common abiding. Okay. So what force, among the 6 forces, what forces we need to apply? At this point, we need to apply the forces of hearing, right? The forces of hearing. And the forces of listening, in other words. So the first of listening, forces of hearing is, clearly speaking, is about listen to or hearing the instruction. Right? So listen to, hearing the instruction again and again, right? And to form the force, right? Make it to become very forceful, right? But turn to the conceptual understanding about the instructions, right? And the descriptive words into a form of a force that is called the forces of listening or forces of hearing, right? Obviously, the form of forces of hearing in this particular case is about the knowledge, concepts, ideas, and teachings of what is the ultimate reality of self of a person. That is the emptiness of selflessness of a person, right? So we constantly listen to, try to hear the knowledge is valid and repeatedly. So then slowly, we will develop a form make this hearing and knowledge, right? Whatever you listen to or you hear make it become forceful, right? Become powerful, then that will help you to put you onto the stages of achieve the successfully first stage of stages of common abiding. Well, let's say, put it as a bit of simple and in a practical experience. We all have this dream experience, right? We dreaming after we fell asleep, right? And so the difference being made is that our collective experience tells us while you were dreaming, right? As far as your experience is concerned, there's no really difference between the whatever you go through after the awake or during the daytime or while you were sleeping, especially concerning the feelings of pain and pleasure or being neutral, right? While you're dreaming, our dreaming experience tells us we would go through the process of painful or scary, right? Or very pleasant, very beautiful moments, right? In our dream. And in that dream, we would think that is real, right? Or we did indeed experience something pleasurable, something wonderful, right? Similarly, we had in our dream, we experienced something dreadful, something is dismay, distress, and then we also think that is real, even though that was in the dream, that experience was taking place while we were dreaming. But as a dreamer, we would think that is real, okay? Until we wake up the next morning, say, oh, shoot, it was a dream, okay? Oh, too bad, it was a dream. And however, here's the thing. If you were dreaming, right, and it happens that while you were having this dreaming, and somebody else, right, and next to you, who is the one have developed the clairvoyance, right, or ESP, and because he or she who is has this supernatural power, then when you are having very dreadful and become very scary while you were dreaming, he or she may wake you up, right? Save you from the dream. And then when you wake up, of course, you know, that was just a dream, right? Similarly, our experience of ourselves about the qualities of our life and our identity and our day-to-day experience, in fact, is literally speaking, ultimately speaking, is a form of a dream. But until we are awake, right, by the wisdom of the Buddha, and then for us it is real, right? So therefore we need the awakening, yes, awake ourselves, right? And this is our goal, is our objectives. So the way to awake ourselves from this ignorant, oriented, dreaming, right, dream-like life, we do have to practice something which is opposite or help us to wake up, just like that person who has clairvoyance who wake up us, right? So we need to develop the awaker, which can wake up from the dream, this samsara dream, that is the wisdom that understand the ultimate reality of the self. Right? So, yeah, so we need therefore it's important for us to go back to thinking again about to listen to or hearing the teachings and develop the concepts, right? To acquire the knowledges of a knowledge that addresses or discuss about the ultimate nature of a self of person and self of phenomena. Why? Because with that knowledge, and then we can apply it to our first stage of the nine common abiding, right? And prepare ourselves ready to move on to the next, right? We all know that at some point, we will our last breath will become air, meaning our breath, right? The force of life will terminate it, will cease, right? Then just take a moment, think about it. What's the point, right? You're working so hard, you're accumulating, right? You're collecting all these material things. But when you finally realize that now you have to leave everything behind, it's just like a dream, right? It's nothing really other than a dream. So then we have the reason, right, and to focus on and to keep working on this process of the awakening, right? That's the enlightening, the enlightenment. So to do that, we need to again bring ourselves to to form the first forces of meditation, the six forces that support us to develop the first stage of nine common abiding. That is setting the mind on the object. Right. Once we did that, then we can move on to the second stages of the nine stages of meditation. That is continue setting. Continue setting. And the continue setting is that, the successful meditator, the way to be a successful meditator, right? And the second stage is that that person has to rely on the second force. The second force is the force of the thinking. Okay? The force of the thinking, a force of the contemplation or analysis, or forces of the studies. In other words, it's examination. So you need to think, you need to be reflective, and be inquiry and inquisitive, and being very clear about the validity and the qualities of the knowledge, right, and concepts that you developed. Right? And then the more you're thinking through about the knowledge, concepts, ideas about the selflessness of person, these ideas, this thinking process, right, a contemplation, and would develop a force, and then with that force, and then you can successfully to remain, like here says about to continue setting your mind on the point or the object of meditation. That is the meditation of selflessness of a person.
야, 너소 온다 정도지. 그런 거 못된 송 장다 링에 좀만 가지고 좋아질지 같이 보세요.
Okay, so I guess just let's say today and as much today, and you please go back, and after you go back home and working on the materials and try out yourself. And then I will see you in the next time and continue the remaining subject matter.
그런 거 TV 또 가로 때는 검교 가로 검지나 소도 검지라. 물음 나라 중에 내랑 뜻당 안에 그런 거로 총총 이게 뒤쳐뜨기라 잡을 가는 거지. 때 네가 다 담비 남아도 그냥 요 말아. 직발에. 때 직발에 말이지. 때 로총총이 때 덴버요 덴버나 덴더비나 이 남은 여러매야 장로 그때 누구면 그때 삼통 거지. 뜻지네 에네 싸니 nga yo 말이지나 차비달 소소지. nga 덴버 드버즈나 딱 비달로 뜨니 바로 네 뜨니 삼통 거스다. 때는 중화점도 요 봐. 랑진기 드바 메파트리 삼통 거지. Sorry.
So today, let me give you a specific homework, and let me be more precise and tell you what I mean by the go back home study and do your homework. Is that so we talked about the first stage, right, in our meditation, and that is to set the mind on the objects, right, and object meditation, right. And we also talked about the way to really get that right. Get that done. It is you needed to rely on or apply the forces. The first forces of six forces. That is the forces of listening or forces of hearing. So here's what you specifically can do. Right, you go back home, right, and you check your own and the sense of I, right, and see how you feel. How does I, the mode of I, right, appear in your mind, right? And is there any difference between the you claimed I, you feel you are very happy or you are not happy at all, and that very sense of I that you experience in your dream? See, try to detect on or examine, right, that very sense of I you had in your dream while you were dreaming, and then compare your sense of that I to this so-called awake states of I, your I. See, why after you awake, right? You say, oh, I'm here, I'm doing this. So that I, what is the difference between that I and the I you dreamed about while you were dreaming? Are they same, right? Obviously, in your critical, clear examination would show there's no really differences, right? Both of them are conceptually being imputed, okay? And entity is not a really substantial or real or objectively sort of existing by its own entity. It is not. Why? Because if you say I, as a person, me as a person, I am is real, that means it's a existing inherently. If you claim yes, it's real, it's existing inherently, that applies naturally. You being a person is a permanent, it's changeless, it's eternal. But we know that is not the case, right? So by figuring out, oh, I as a person is not eternal, right? It's not changeless, but rather is changeable, is changing, right? Is on the constant flux of changing, the mode of changing, and then you are free from one of the extremes of the philosophical view with respect to the clear view, right? Or develop the clear view. You're free from the extremes view of eternalism, right? But at the same time, right, make sure and the very conclusion you draw with this comparison of the dreaming I and the awakening I, and do not fall to another trap or the extremes of that is nihilism. If you claim, oh, there's no really difference, a substantial fundamental difference, right? Essential difference between the dream I and the awakened I, and if you say, oh, there's no I at all, then you are fell into the extremes of nihilism, which of course you must avoid. But rather, you are hearing or listening, right? And the effort you made in this versus the forces, right? And it has to be arrived to the point where you see ultimately, right? Ultimately, the I, the self, does not exist inherently, or exists and it's on by its own characteristic, but conventionally it does exist because of a dependent arising. or dependently. So when you see this, right, then you are free from the both extremes.
Sorry.
All right. Thank you, Geishla, Tempa, and Tenzin. If you would like to make a donation for this teaching, it would be greatly appreciated by the monastery and the monks. And you're also donating for our translator, Tenzin. And you can do this by calling 812-336-6807 or by emailing the center at tmbcc.kcl@gmail.com. For those of you in the temple, I'll pass around the begging bowl, and if you would like to make a donation, I would be greatly appreciated, or you can just say a mantra or prayer in the bowl. All right, thank you.
Page number 80.
Lo me ma re ge don ro wa nam de ya ve wong bo da ma so be che ro gan de ya be yang ji zhe wei ji zong de dang bei ren ba ge cang lang ji shou nie ne zhe bei jiao na ji shi shou ge zhe zhen do bei lang ji shi zhao zi wei zhong wei tang kui ji zhou wei ye ji men ba se shi ya wei dang ba ye rang zhen ji dang ba ren shen zhou ge ma zhou cha jiang yang ber zhe wei shou de jie chen bo ya re zhou ba yi pan de de so er shi ber shou se jie ya wei ma shong chen le la zhe shang zhou lang ji ren bei jiang tang du nan ji yu la he de shang ya wei za ba rang de zhong ji ji lam zang zhe bei ten jian zhe xi da jian se xi me dang me men gen cai re gan de ya wei na ba yi nam da zhe er ma zhi zi ta ba chong la ji zhou zhi ce zhen zhe la zong ba de yi te de nam yi da de zhou xi zhang zhao xi yang zuo shou gen jiang yi ji Lama Rinpoche, Daso Yengar Bami Tangshima, Gajen Shenpo Guni Jizong De, Kusong Teje Ngedra Tsada So, Chanjo Semcho Rinpoche, Marche Bane Jijer Ji, Chewa Nyamba Me Bar Yang, Gong Ye Gong De Pe Wer Shou, Gang Re Ra We Gur We Sheng Commander, Pan Dang De Wa Ma Lin Jong We Ni, Sha Re Ze Wang Dan Zi Yang Zong Yi, Sha Pe Sen Te Bar De Dan Jer Ju, Ba Wo Zhi De Tian Ba Dang, Gun De Zang Bo De Yang De Jin De, De Da Gen Jie Ji Si Dang Mu Shi, Ye Wang De Da Tam Zhi Ra De Ngo, Di Sima Sha Bi Ya Wa Tam Zhi Ji, Ngo Wa Gang La Chou De Nga Ba De, Da Zhen Ge Wei Sa Wan De Gen Jiang, Zang Bo Shu Shi Rab De Ngo Wer Ji, Pan De Zhong Ne Dan Ba Dar Shang Ji, Dan Zhen Ji Wu Tam Zhi Gen Geng Zang, Li Zhen Gen La Der Zhi Zhong Wei Ne, Sang Ji Dan Ba Da De Ji Zhi Ji,跟的要我总抗为他做新年我是这边的，要为我被南上的年里，个就这样多本马劲儿。Okay,